Global optimism among people was never that low. Yes, that's what you are seeing in the companies for the first time. That in general, this year 2026, we are seeing the lowest level of optimism coming from an important research from the Edelman Trust Barometer. This Edelman Trust Barometer served more than 33,000 people across 28 different countries. And what they found is that only 32% of the global population believe that the next generation will live better. That's a very interesting data because 32% of the people thinking or believing that the next generation will have a better life means that basically one third of the population only believes that things are getting better. In India and China, two of the fastest growing markets in the world and fast growing economies in the world, this number dropped even more, dropped more than 13 points in a single year compared to 2025. So, with the data in mind, I think we have an interesting reflection in front of us because, of course, we are living a moment of things accelerating too much. We are seeing that AI, new technologies, data, information, social media, everything make us believe, or at least feel, that things are moving too fast for us to be able to follow what is the path, what is happening, what is the thing that I should put my attention on. And the problem with that is that this report from the Edelman Group, they show that the world moved from polarization to something that is called insularity. So, connected to this kind of optimism going down, they try to understand what is the root cause for that. And in the same report, they have something that they are calling insularity. And I want to help you understand that because basically, polarization is what we see right now everywhere. Right now, is the right wing against the left wing, is us against them, is this kind of thing that makes people put themselves on a side and fight against the other side. So polarization is this kind of thing that I don't need to explain that much because probably you see everywhere. You just need to open some news website, some social media, and you're going to understand that we are living in a moment of confrontation between two different ideas all the time. But insularity then is different because this is, according to the report and reading what is there, it is basically groups that stop engaging with anyone different from them. So it's maybe, or at least in my opinion, it's worse than polarization because polarization, we still have some kind of dialogue. Maybe it's a screaming and bad dialogue, but people are still doing some kind of confrontation of the ideas. So we still have people from one side trying to prove or basically just trying to prove that their ideas are better than the other side. The best scenario, of course, are two sides of some ideas that confront each other, but listening to what they have to say to come up with some common understanding, right? What we see in polarization is basically this group and this group fighting, just trying to prove their point without actually coming to a conclusion on okay, we can agree on this, we disagree on that, we are never going to agree on that, we're never going to align on something. But the dialogue is still happening. Again, not a good one, not the best one for the humanity. And in human history, you always had some kind of confrontation of ideas all the time. So this is part of who we are. But insularity, it's a bit different. We have people basically having their ideas, being closed with that, not with the intention to change anything, and they don't want to even expose themselves to someone who is thinking differently from them. And this is basically showing this report because 70% of the people are reluctant to trust someone with different values, backgrounds, or beliefs. It's a big amount of people, 70%, who don't want to consider that they will trust on someone with different beliefs and backgrounds than themselves. 61% say that they deliberately avoid information sources they disagree with. So, again, are people who build their opinion on something and they are not even intend to read about some other perspective. They are focused on what they already believe. They bring more of that, so they are inside this bubble, and they don't want to be in touch with someone thinking differently from them. That's why I'm saying that it's much more dangerous than polarization. And finally, another data that I capture here is 42% would rather switch departments than work for a manager with different values. So you see that it's quite bad, right? We see that people are lowering their optimism on what is coming, but at the same time, we see this kind of trend that people are not intending to build some kind of dialogue and even change their idea. I have my opinions about many things. Much of my opinion about the topics we discuss here, I normally share what I think, what I agree, what I disagree, but normally I'm open to change my mind or to change my perspective on something if I'm convinced about it. But to be convinced about something, you need to have data, you need to understand the facts, and you need to find the concept or build the concept on what is true and what is not truth. So of course, this is quite dangerous in so many sense for humanity, because of course that the search for the truth is one of the things that move us to be even smarter. You know, when you're reading about something and read one book, two books, 10 books with different perspectives on that same topic, you build some kind of understanding about not only the topic itself, but everything that is around that, the different opinions, the different perspectives, and you build your own opinion. And I like to think like Mortimer Adler, he says in his book, How to Read Books, that normally you should never disagree or even agree with something that you don't understand. But the problem is that apparently everyone now has a PhD understanding on every single topic. Everyone on social media appear to be like an expert on economic situations. They understand everything about the world. They understand everything about the conflicts. They understand everything about every single culture around the world to build their opinions and get stuck with that. And the less smart you are, the more prone you are to stay with your opinion forever. Because if you're not smart enough to know that you can be wrong about so many things, there's a strong chance that you are not researching about other perspectives to understand the facts around you, different facts from different perspectives as well. So you can build or reinforce your opinion if need, change your opinion, but at least build knowledge about why you agree with something or why you disagree with something. If you have an opinion about something that you are very sure about and you ask 5 times why, so let's say you are sure about point A, ask yourselves why 5 times, and try to see if you can explain, really explain, okay, not just giving excuse with this, you know, teenager kind of word that don't complete one single phrase. And maybe that was a bit offensive because I know many teenagers that would be able to explain their opinions much better than people older than me, or we know what I mean. It's not about generation, it's about it's about their minds and their mindsets. But with that optimism getting low in so many sense, the concept or the concern from your business for your career is of course everything else that come with that. Because in this condition, people choose to stay with what is familiar to them. People, if they are not that optimistic, they do not take risks, so the investments get lowering, and this is a risk overall for many kind of business around the world. So the leader who understand that in this context, I think would start to stop thinking like, how do I motivate my team, and maybe start asking what kind of environment we are building here in our company, what kind of culture we are building, a culture that accept different opinions and different perspectives, that we can work with them and they respect each other. Or are we building and hiring a team that is so equal to each one that we are not open to innovate because we have no clash of ideas? Everyone agrees with everything. That's very dangerous. And finally, the company I want to ask you, or the reflection I want to leave from this topic, is basically how your behavior as a leader is influencing on that. How you invite your team for the good conflicts that can help them to disagree on something, to think different, and find new ways of doing the things. In many companies that where innovation stops, you can research about many cases. One of the common things to see is that people stop clashing their perspectives. So everyone just starts at some point thinking equally. They are so sure that things are working good. This is the way we do things here. This is the way we've been doing things here for 30 years. And then things stop to move. From an innovation perspective, things stop to move from this disruptive thinking. That is what makes innovation happen. Schumpeter, in his book his researchers, he did a lot of findings that innovation to happen need clash of ideas. You need to break things to be able to find new ways of solving the same problems or find a new way of solving a kind of or solve a kind of problem. So to be able to do that, you as a leader, you need to provocate, to stimulate the good conflicts between your team. Conflicts, I mean, when the team start clashing, but clashing focusing on solving problems, on fighting what is the best thing. They disagree, but they don't disagree personally. They disagree about the work they are doing. They disagree about something that is helping them to become better as a team. You can learn a lot about that in Patrick Lencioni's books. And this is quite a way that you can help or make sure that your team is building the right maturity that will help them to stay relevant as a team now, but look into how they will be even better team a better team in the future.